So we are so pleased to have Doug Conant here today to continue our leadership in the innovation space. I should note that we've been doing this for about 18 years now, fostering innovation and teaching innovation and entrepreneurship to the academic and business communities. And 2.5 weeks ago, I was in Syracuse presenting to my colleagues from across the country. And you wouldn't know this, but we are leading the pack, and we shared best practices, as we'll share today, as we share all the time, because we need to be stronger, we need to be better innovators. That's the only way to make this state so strong. And in fact, the reason I was sharing this with my colleagues is we need to make this country stronger. And the more innovative our companies can be, the better. And so with that, I'll ask a future innovator here at the university, our new dean, Dr. William Moore, to come up and introduce our first speaker, who will be Gary Rose. Dean William Moore.
Good morning. Thanks, Jim. Let me also add my welcome to each of you this morning. Our president, Dr. J. Michael Adams, wanted to be here this morning, but he had a death in the family, so he's unable to be with us. But he asked me to extend to you his welcome to all of you, and he wished that he could be here with you. Certainly our thoughts and prayers with Dr. Adams this morning. I'm pleased to welcome each of you, as I said, to this wonderful occasion. I've been at Fairleigh Dickinson now I used to give the days, but I can't count that high, but it's been about 2.5 months. And I've seen many of you on other occasions, and certainly an occasion like this solidifies in my mind that I made the right choice of coming here to a school that is really a leader when it comes to innovation and creativity and preparing leaders for tomorrow. So thanks again to all of you for coming to this session this morning. Fairleigh Dickinson has many centers of innovation and many outstanding programs, but the Rothman Institute certainly epitomizes the essence of what we're trying to do in terms of creativity and innovation at this university. So let me just put another plug for the Rothman Institute, because Jim has been doing a wonderful job in that area. It has been consistently ranked among the top programs of its kind in the nation, and it takes great pride in working with today's professionals and inspiring tomorrow's leaders. So with that said, I now have the great honor of introducing a very influential leader who has taken on a critical responsibility for our great state. In early 2006, Governor John Corzine named Gary Rose to head the Governor's Office of Economic Growth. He's responsible for coordinating the state's economic development efforts, and he has been charged with developing and implementing a strategic business plan for New Jersey. As Governor Corzine said at the time of his appointment, quote, Gary Rose understands the economics factors that are important to businesses looking to invest or relocate. He will be a tremendous leader, unquote. And he has been. Gary has stated that we need to use all of our resources to fight for every good job across our state. And that's exactly what he has been doing. Gary's a 25-year veteran and a retired partner of the investment banking division of Goldman Sachs. Since his retirement, he has been active on a number of boards of directors for nonprofit organizations, including the Corporation for Supportive Housing, the Fund for New Jersey, and the Henry H. Kessler Foundation. The other day, in a recent speech by Gary, which he was discussing environmental threats and challenges, Gary wasn't, as some, pessimistic. In fact, he was upbeat, because he said, such threats provide us with great opportunities to come together and meet great goals, opportunities for innovation. That's the attitude that drives great leaders. That's the spirit that we celebrate today. And that's the attitude that will enable us to create a better tomorrow. Please join with me in welcoming Gary Rose. Gary.
Thank you, Dean Moore. Good morning, everybody. Every star needs a warm-up act, and I'm Doug Conant's warm-up act. But warm-up acts know that they have to be brief, so I'm going to be brief. I'm delighted to be here today. The topic of innovation is one that has fascinated me through my private and public sector tenures. And innovation, as you're going to hear, comes in all sizes and shapes. People generally think of innovation in the context of small entrepreneurial companies. But the reality is, as we were chatting earlier, you have to innovate at every scale, every size, in every dimension that you do. That's why some government programs like the Baldrige program in Washington that has always fascinated me, and Six Sigma principles and things which challenge you to measure the unmeasurable and look for threats all around you, are the things that I think make some of the great businesses that reside in our state. And I'm looking out here at the leaders of Campbell Soup and Shearing Plow, two of not only New Jersey's finest, but America's finest and the world's finest examples of how you run a company, challenge your people, stick with your core principles, and recreate yourself. I frankly only wish, and this is almost as an aside, that that the government could be that flexible, because I think sometimes we can share the vision, but getting there is a trickier path than it is in the private sector. Nobody is a turnaround artist, even a governor of a state, who can necessarily see where he wants to go and cut down to core elements and just start over. I will talk just very briefly about what my office and what we do. The governor established the Office of Economic Growth to do two principal things. One is to establish an economic strategy for the state, because fundamentally he believes that we can't slash our way or raise taxes as the only two means to balance the deficit, the budget we have, and reduce and eliminate the deficit. We have to grow our way out of it, and we have to organically create revenues by creating more than our share of good jobs, enhance the profitability of the companies that reside in our state, and thereby raise revenues at the same time addressing our cost structure so that we get to and through a break even. And the second thing we do is really coordinate the 21 agencies, commissions, authorities that interface with the private sector. And so when I got to Trenton two years ago, we basically tried to do four things. We basically set an economic course, we reconfigured state government, we needed to get some wins, and I'm pleased to say we have a few, and start working on regaining business confidence. In simple terms, that's what we've been about. We spent 6 months studying, benchmarking against every state with which we compete, with frankly the help of the companies that are resident in this state, and we went out and learned a lot about how we lost pieces of business. You learn an awful lot more when you lose than when you win. We then took the resources we had with a zero-based budget mandate and started to do things that reconfigured ourselves to be better aligned with what we wanted to do. So the first, and I guess the most visible thing, was we restructured the Commerce Commission, and we focused the Commerce Commission exclusively on private sector outreach. It used to do tourism. We basically transferred the whole tourism activities to the Department of State, where it is now married up under the auspices of the Secretary of State, not only responsible for tourism, but also the advocacy of the arts and culture. And so we are, in effect, the Secretary of State is stamping the imprint of New Jersey on that whole side of what we do in the state. And so our structure is reasonably simple. We strategize in my office and coordinate. We market at commerce, and we execute through EDA. Now, there are obviously other things we do, and that's overly simplifying, but that's basically the conceptual triangle that we work with. We needed some wins. We needed them so that the business community and we could understand how working together we could get things accomplished in short order. Oh, and one other configuration thing, we created an entity called the ACE Council, which is very relevant to us working in government, but it's the number 2 person at every one of those 21 entities that deals with the private sector, and we get together at least once a month. We form ad hoc committees on priority projects and on priority issues, and we gang tackle and realign government and make things happen. And we needed some wins, and I would, I guess, highlight 2 or 3 just because they're top of mind. One was Bayer AG that had to make a decision a year ago on where it was going to put its North American headquarters, and it had a very big campus in Connecticut that had a lot of capacity. They had bought Burlex in New Jersey and was trying to figure out where to go. And in a competition with the state of Connecticut, and frankly, the help and support of the leaders of the pharmaceutical community and the Healthcare Institute, we convinced them, and I think ultimately they convinced themselves, that being part of this community, where I think 15 of the 20 largest pharmaceutical companies in the U.S., I think that's the right number. I'm looking at Fred, but I'm not quite sure. It's about 15. It's about three quarters of the U.S. pharmaceutical headquarters are resident here in New Jersey, and being part of that community, part of that dynamic pool of human resources, was important to Bayer, and they have now moved to New Jersey, and I check in with them periodically, and I think they're feeling very good about their move. Yesterday, the governor dedicated the opening of the U.S. headquarters of Eisai, a large Japanese pharmaceutical company up in Woodcliff Lake, and if you've never been there, go north on the Parkway, and right before the Parkway ends, I think at exit 171, you'll find Woodcliff Lake, not near Trenton, I might add. And that was a thrill for us. This is a company that I think 11 years ago had virtually no employees and no revenues in the U.S. And this year I think we'll hit $3 billion of U.S. revenues, and does some remarkable things, particularly in Alzheimer's disease pharmaceuticals. And 2 days ago, the governor cut a ribbon at right near here at Florham Park for the Jets practice facility. Just seems like an athletic practice facility, but with that practice facility comes from Long Island $110 million player payroll. So that has real benefits to this state in terms of new revenues, and we're encouraging those players that they ought to live in New Jersey rather than Long Island, and it's only 20 minutes from here to the new stadium that they're building. And so the center of Jets World, if you like wearing green on Sundays, is about less than a mile from where we're standing right now. And the last thing that we tried to do, which we're working on, and is going to be an endless challenge for us, endless at least in my time horizons, is regaining the trust of the business community. We know that the government in the state has a reputation for being unfriendly, to say the least. And we need to work on that. And for those of you who've been involved in institutions that have fallen from grace to some degree, you know the lesson that it's very easy to lose your reputation, and it's really difficult to rebuild. And that's one that we have to do, one individual, one company at a time. We are absolutely committed to making sure that we are as user-friendly as possible. We try to work with companies large and small, and believe me, we have a terrific initiative, we have a focused initiative in my office promoting jobs for small women and minority businesses. The governor signed an executive order. I can tell you right now, we have just closed the second quarter where we are measuring the amount of business which is being booked and billed to companies based on all kinds of cross-sections of data. And we will publish those numbers. I can tell you for the first quarter, when the data, we only got 75% of the state entities reporting, and believe me, we're within 2 of 100% this time, because the governor's getting a list of anybody who's not reporting on time. But with 75% of the precincts reporting on a run rate basis, we had tripled in the first quarter against the benchmark in the disparity study. tripled the aggregate volume of business being written to small women and minority businesses. I cannot break down in the first quarter the ethnicity breakout, which many people want to get. I will tell you we're going to have that data and publish it for the second quarter, and we are going to continuously report, and that's really just the first step. The first step is gathering the data, and then the second step is, in effect, asking the questions of how you manipulate that data to get better results. How do we move these programs around so that we can continue to elevate the amount of businesses which is being done by small firms? Because frankly, we believe that small firms offer tremendous potential for job growth, good job growth. So we're very excited about that. So I'm going to leave you on that. We have an economic growth strategy. The governor announced it in September. This month, probably late this month, we will put out what we internally call version 2.0, an update of this strategy. It will largely, it will have a lot of fine tuning, but it will largely fill out 3 areas, that's right, that were placeholders in the first draft. One is the port strategy, ports and logistics, very important all over the state. Not just what you naturally think in the Northeast, but the Southwest on the Delaware River, in Camden, possibly, and in Paulsboro, and going down the coast, possibly in places that maybe people in the North haven't heard of, like Rapano and Carney's Point. We have an opportunity over time to build a very powerful port activity in the South, and with that, because of the kinds of activities that are done there, not the terminal business that's done in New York, but bulk and break bulk businesses have very powerful opportunities for very good jobs for low-skilled people, and we're very excited about that. The second one is an urban strategy, which we're going to talk, governor's going to talk more about, and then the third one, which is going to get a lot more prominence, although given a leak it got some prominence in the Star-Ledger a few weeks ago. The government is going to put out its draft of the state's energy master plan, something that we all need to dig into, because availability and cost of energy are things that we need to think about. The envelope has been drawn in terms of our targets for greenhouse gases and energy economies. The governor set targets. There now is legislation and executive orders. That's the right sequence, so we're going to live within those targets and work within those targets, but we're going to have to be thoughtful and creative. And as Dean Moore kindly referenced in a speech I gave in Manhattan, we view that as a tremendous business opportunity for the state. We think we need to look at the ways that we do business as opportunities to create businesses, grow businesses, have our large utilities work with their customer base with which they've generated relationships of trust, to figure out ways to be smarter on how we use energy so that we minimize the need for incremental energy generation in the state. Nobody's saying that we don't have to do it, but at least we have to work that number down as low as we can. And then if we need generation, we need to figure out the kind of generation that works in the most densely populated state in the country. So I've yammered on too long, well over my 5 minutes. Thank you all for listening to me, and you're going to have a wonderful lecture from Mr. Conant. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Gary. I now have the great pleasure of introducing another inspiring leader and a dear friend of Fairleigh Dickinson University. For more than 3 decades, Fred Hassan has been an influential force in the pharmaceutical industry. He's especially well known for transforming corporate enterprises, building a sense of teamwork and cooperation, and fueling tremendous growth. As the CEO and chairman of Pharmacia Corporation, Fred was named the CEO of the Year in the global pharmaceutical industry in 1999. In 2003, he joined Schering-Plough as CEO and chairman and helped engineer a fundamental transformation that has garnered acclaim, generated significant growth, and innovatively responded to society's great needs. I should note that Schering-Plough is sponsoring this program this morning, and we thank you, Fred, for that. Last year, Fred was the first CEO Innovation Lecturer. He helped kick off this wonderful series in impressive fashion with some interesting stories and enlightening lessons. Today, he helps us once again by introducing today's lecturer. Please join me in welcoming Fred Hadson. Fred.
Thank you, and I'll keep my remarks brief since I'm really looking forward to spending as much time as possible with Doug Conant's ideas. He's got great ideas. He's a transformational leader. He has changed Campbell Soup. He was a company that was getting a little tired. And innovation is not only creativity, it's bringing creativity to life. It's doing something with creativity that adds to the customer's experience. And I'm so impressed with the way Doug has pulled off this remarkable transformation of this very strong institution that was, as I said earlier, starting to get a little tired. And the brand was starting to get a little tired. Innovation, reinvention is something we all face every day, every year. And as we know, when we stop reinventing ourselves, reinventing our environment, that's when the world starts to slow down around us and things start to stagnate. So innovation is a fundamental part of life. It's very important to me personally. It's very important to Sharing Plow. That's one reason we've done very well as a company. For example, in our business, research and development is the lifeblood because it's a patent-driven industry, and we've done a very good job in building up a very strong research and development pipeline in pharmaceuticals. But we're here to listen to a real great case history of an American company that's been reawakened by a transformational leader. So let's welcome Doug Conant.
Turn myself on. Can you hear me? I've got my prop master here, Jim. You do it all here. You know, they don't pay you enough. Whatever it is, they don't pay you enough. Did I say that right? Okay, good. I thought you'd agree. No, it was more than a 20. Good morning, everyone. I am very excited to be here. You're in my backyard. I actually live here in Madison. A well-kept secret. I've been here for about 18 years. I started my career in New Jersey with Nabisco over in Parsippany and also in East Hanover. And I've now been commuting down to Camden for the last 7 years. I don't know where the time's gone. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I know Gary had to leave, but I'd just like to make a comment about Governor Corzine and Gary Rose have been very supportive of our efforts to try and rebuild our presence in Camden. It's a very challenging situation. We've been in Camden. Our world headquarters building was built there in 1957, and we are devoted to that community and trying to help lift it up. And were it not for Governor Corzine and Gary Rose and their entire team, we might be contemplating being somewhere else. But they are passionately dedicated to helping us find a solution so that we can stay in Camden. We're very appreciative of that. I wish he'd been here to hear that, but I have a feeling he will anyway. Now, on with the show. I'm going to take you through a quick tour here, and I'm going to go fairly quickly. I could talk all day on this subject, but I want to create a few minutes for questions at the end, and I'll be available after we're done to answer some questions one-on-one. I'll take you through who we are, our journey, our philosophy, and then I'm really anxious to get to some innovation highlights where I'll try and bring this concept to life, and I have several videos that bring it to life and commercials, which I think will certainly keep you awake after I've ponderously gone through the first half of this presentation, then I'll wrap up. First, who we are. Many brands that are familiar to you here, including Pepperidge Farm, Godiva, V8, as well as a traditional Campbell Soup brand. We are a global manufacturer and marketer of what we call simple meals, where we are heavily anchored in soup, baked snacks, where we are heavily anchored in biscuits, like Pepperidge Farm cookies and Goldfish, and other brands around the world, and healthy beverages, where we are heavily anchored in vegetable-based beverages with our V8 brand. We also sell premium chocolates, although we're in the process of looking at selling the Godiva business at the moment. We're nearly $8 billion in sales today. Our products are sold in more than 120 countries around the world. We employ more than 23,000 employees, and we've been around for a long time, 140 years. Our journey, and I could tell you the whole story off this one slide, I would view it in 4 phases. The first phase was 1996 to 2000. Actually, I could go back. 90 to 96, we were one of the best performing food companies in the world, but we built our company on the back of an aggressive acquisition and pricing strategy that was unsustainable. And we lost our ability to grow organically, and when the acquisitions dried up and you couldn't take the prices any higher, we stumbled. And we were actually the poorest performing food company in the world from 1996 to 2000. And we were in desperate need of renewal. I was at the time working here at Nabisco. We were just acquired by Philip Morris, and the week after the acquisition was done by Philip Morris of Nabisco, I started as CEO of Campbell on January 8th of 2001. We had 3 phases that we went through. One was just to take us from being uncompetitive every day to being competitive on a good day, and that took 3 years. We'll talk a little bit about that. We called that our transformation plan. Our next challenge was, once we became competitive on a good day, we saw the capacity to raise our sights higher. And we targeted to be above average every day. And that's where we are today. We are, as you'll see, performing quite well. And now we can finally lift our sights to doing what we really have aspired to do all along, and that's be extraordinary. Be the world's most extraordinary food company by nourishing people's lives everywhere, every day. If I go back to our transformation plan, in July of 2001, we assessed our situation, dissected why we were so uncompetitive, much like Gary talked about the deep dive they had to do here on the state. And we saw that we had to clearly lift up product quality, re-energize the organization, and start to build our innovation capabilities. The language I used around this is memorable because I heard it from my father years ago when I'd come home late from a date, and I'd say, "Dad, you don't understand," past curfew. "Dad, you don't understand, the traffic was horrible, or the car wouldn't start, or whatever." And he'd say, "Son, you can't talk your way out of something you behaved your way into. You simply have to behave your way out of it." And that was the same language we used with our company. You can't talk your way out of something you behaved your way into. In our case, it took us 4 years of poor performance, and we weren't going to get out of it overnight, certainly not in a ponderous grocery industry that grows on average 2% a year. So we set our sights to be reasonable and achievable. When we brought forward reasonable targets, our company responded. They responded because they could envision us becoming competitive on a good day, and we did. Raised our sights again to be above average, and we're now on the path to extraordinary. We have a success model at Campbell that frames how we think about becoming extraordinary. It's all about creating extraordinary shareowner value, but there are 2 pillars underneath it. First of all, we focus on winning in the marketplace by outperforming our peer companies in our industry. Now, that was the focus before. Where our company had lost focus was on the lower pyramid there, which we call winning in the workplace. See, we don't believe you can sustainably win in the marketplace if you don't have a vibrant, highly engaged workplace. And so our challenge as an organization is to deliver a superior employment experience for each and every one of our associates. It's all about winning in the workplace, building the capabilities to sustainably win in the marketplace, and then you create shareowner value. Our mission is that together we will build the world's most extraordinary food company by nourishing people's lives everywhere, every day. Now, food companies and pharmaceutical companies have a lot of missions like this. It's very familiar. But what's special about our mission is that each one of you in this room has a nourishing story about Campbell Soup. You've lived it. It resonates with our consumers, our customers, and our employees in ways that many missions don't. Everyone has a story of a nourishing experience with Campbell Soup at home. What do we mean by being extraordinary? That's critical. That's mission critical when you think about it. Together we will build the world's most extraordinary food company. Well, my definition is extraordinary is equal to sustainably good. I've done a study of the food industry over the last 30 years. I've been in the industry for 32. And over the last 30 years, 3 companies have created the most shareowner value. And interestingly, they are not the big companies that you might think of. They are Wrigley, gum, Hershey, and McCormick Spices. Companies that were focused on being sustainably good in a focused category in a powerful way. And they built that capability over time. They were always above average every day, but in the final analysis, they outperformed the entire S&P food group in each decade and in total over that 30-year period. Now, we measure our progress against our mission of becoming extraordinary in two ways. We measure it against our success model, marketplace and workplace. Our marketplace measure is like any other company. We measure total share owner returns. Our goal is to be the best in the decade, not the best in the quarter. But we know that analysts don't want to wait 10 years for us to see how we're doing, so we commit to having an above-average rolling 3-year total share owner return every year, and you'll see we're doing quite well on that. The other area of focus, which we are very public about, it's in our annual report right now, in my section, right up front, is driving employee engagement versus all other companies. See, we just don't believe that we can be an extraordinary company unless we have a highly engaged workforce. We have two measures, our engagement relative to other peer companies, and then this thing that the Gallup survey does, which is called an engagement ratio. And that's if you imagine any population being broken into 3 groups, wildly engaged, engaged, actively disengaged. Basically, the concept is you have to have a lot more wildly engaged people than you do actively disengaged. They've measured this over time and find it directly correlates to creating share owner value. And if you get 12 wildly engaged for every 1 actively disengaged, you're world class. And you'll see we're working in that direction. Our goal every year is a continuous improvement goal to do a little better each year than we did the year before. How are we doing? Well, we are winning in the marketplace over the rolling 3-year period. Last 3 years, we're delivering total share owner returns in a challenged industry right now is 16% per year, and that's number 1 in our peer group. On a 5-year basis, we're pushing 14% and well ahead of our peer group. That's number 2 in our peer group over the last 5 years. In terms of the business fundamentals, you can see we've grown from under $6 billion to almost $8 billion. Compound annual growth is 6% per year, organic growth, no acquisitions in here. And this is against an industry average of less than 2. We are also experiencing quality earnings growth. We had to invest in our business to get it back on the growth track, but we've grown to $1.2 billion. We've got an 8% CAGR on the EBIT line, 5% over the last 5 years. Earnings per share have grown at 12% over the last 3 years. We're up to $1.95, and we've had growth every year. Our cash flow is strong and growing. We've added about $100 million per year to the cash flow. There are ebbs and flows. I've created 2 tranches for you to look at there. And importantly, probably the most critical measure is our return on invested capital. As I said, we had to invest to get the company back on track, but we now have a return on invested capital which is way above where we were originally and growing nicely. We're also winning in the workplace. We're maniacal about this. We measure it every year through surveys, and we've gone from the 51st percentile to the top quartile in 5 years. Our goal was to be in the top quartile in 10, and we've got our total population engagement ratio from 2 to 1 to 9 to 1. 9 wildly engaged for 1 actively disengaged. When I started, it was 2 to 1, which is the U.S. average, quite honestly. So, sad statement. Now, our global leadership team, and it's critical that you get your arms around your leadership team. This is our top 350 leaders. Incidentally, we turned over 300 of our top 350 in the first 3 years because the people that were left when I got there were the people that couldn't find a job somewhere else, or we had some dedicated people as well, but we had a lot of people that just weren't engaged in the journey. And we promoted, of that 300, we promoted 150 from within, and we recruited 150 from outside. Of our total 350, we are now up to a 4.4 out of 5 score in engagement, which puts us at the 70th percentile of the executive database. The reason for all the changes I just highlighted is in the far left column, where you see we were in the 9th percentile for all the executive database. And Gallup met with me and said, Doug, we don't know how to tell you this, but we've surveyed 300 of the Fortune 500. These are the worst executive scores that we have seen in all 300 companies. So a lot of work to be done. You could see our engagement ratio was 1 to 1. And now we're shooting the lights out with 35 to 1 engagement ratio. 70% of our top 350 are wildly engaged in their work. and enjoying it and thriving in it, to everyone who's not happy and not satisfied. We have 5 core strategies. I'm not going to dwell on this, but we focus on expanding our icon brands primarily within simple meals, soup, baked snacks, biscuits. We trade consumers up on 3 mega trends. We focus on trading them up to higher levels of satisfaction on convenience, wellness, and quality. I'm sure you can all relate to that as consumers. We make our products more broadly available and existing in new markets. We're just now opening, we're shipping in China and Russia as we speak, new markets for us, the 2 largest soup markets in the world. We're increasing our margins to afford to drive our growth by improving price realization as we trade consumers up and by driving company-wide productivity. And we are maniacally focused on our organization to drive diversity, engagement, excellence, and agility. We have a tapestry of materials that define the kind of culture we want to build. This is a very meaty subject, but not the topic for today. Now, our innovation philosophy. There's a growth imperative in our industry, in consumer products or any other industry, and the fact is life is very Darwinian. You either grow or die. There is absolutely no in between. And when you go into this line of work, you know that. So we always suggest people choose growth because it certainly beats the alternative. But when you talk about innovation, there's a parallel imperative. It's what I call the innovation imperative. Free enterprise is very Darwinian, but you either innovate or die. Innovation is growth, and there is no in between. There is no compromising it, and it has to be innovation across your entire value chain, not just in the products you make. It has to be built into the hearts and minds of the people you work with. Now, our innovation is mission-driven. If you look at our mission as together we will build the world's most extraordinary food company by nourishing people's lives everywhere, every day, the first hurdle that the innovation has to pass is it contributing to our ability to build the world's most extraordinary food company? Does it pass the sniff test? And is it nourishing people's lives? If it's not, you have to ask, why am I doing it? There may be a good reason, you may proceed, but these are the first gates we drive off of, and this is where we begin our work. The innovation must also advance our success model. If it's not helping us win in the marketplace or win in the workplace, you have to say, why are we doing it? And these create the boundaries for us to think about innovation. There's still a lot of white space, but it does help us draw the lines. Our innovation philosophy, my innovation philosophy, is that our challenge is to meet the needs of our consumers, customers, and employees faster, better, and more completely than the competition. There is a competitive edge to this innovation game. And you want to meet your stakeholders' needs, but you have to have a competitive edge, and it is about speed, quality, and completeness. Now I'm going to take you through some innovation highlights. This will be rather rapid, but it's fun. I'm going to cover 4 areas: products, services, systems, and processes, because again, this is more than just new products. Although new products will be most relevant to you because you live this and you see it every time you shop. Our activity across all these areas operates on 2 levels. One I would call the innovation level, which is a large-scale change impact, where we're doing things that are new to the company or new to the market. But there's also another level of activity that's equally important, and we call that renovation. And that's where you're getting incremental changes and incremental impacts that are mission critical as well, but aren't on a large-scale basis, and you need a little of both. And it involves refinement of existing capabilities. So we have innovation, big stuff, renovation, small stuff. Both are important. They have to be well managed and appropriately balanced. I'll use some examples here. First one is innovation, microwavable soups. This is a bit of an indictment on our company, but we'll live with it. The first microwave was created in 1947. We didn't think seriously about putting soup in a microwavable container until 55 years later in 2002. And we're a consumer products company. We were very focused on being the world's best canned soup company, and we were not enlightened on product form. Well, we launched this product called Soup at Hand and then blew it out in terms of a variety of formats. And now we have a $350 million microwavable soup business that's growing quite nicely and quite frankly is attracting a whole new generation of consumers like my children who are off at school who call me and ask me to send the soup, and I know they're not looking for canned soup, they're looking for microwavable soup. So let me show you a couple commercials there just to have...
So, despite the positive sales indicated here, you should have all got the memo. Pipperman, is there something you want to share with us?
The
taste you love anywhere you go. Campbell's microwavable soup.
Does this recline?
Yep. Comfy?
Campbell's microwavable soup at hand soup. Good to go.
Those two commercials were designed to re-emphasize the taste of Campbell's soup in a microwavable format. The microwavable format is obvious in the commercials. And those Fippelman ads have done quite well for us. Another innovation is our reduced sodium soups. Sodium is the #1 consumer health concern with our soup. A large portion of our largest cohort, which is 55+ consumers, are concerned about sodium, and our soups have not kept pace. We sell low sodium soups, but when you take the sodium out, the taste trade-off has been too substantial. We have had some breakthroughs in sodium reduction, leveraging a special kind of natural sea salt and other technologies. We now offer 43 varieties, and we're generating over $400 million in sales, and it's the fastest growing part of our portfolio. So I'll show you, I think, a spot here.
Great taste, lower sodium, but how?
Adding our lower sodium natural sea salt helps give these Campbell's soups amazing taste.
How'd you think to add sea salt?
It just hit me. Lower sodium soup, great taste, but how? Sea salt.
Sea salt! Campbell's added our one-of-a-kind lower sodium natural sea salt to help give our healthy request soups up to 50% less sodium with amazing taste.
I thought you said this was lower sodium.
If I move on, innovation in V8. Our traditional V8 vegetable juice is recognized for its wellness credentials, but the flavor and texture is very polarizing. It's a pretty thick, viscous vegetable juice. We saw an opportunity to marry fruits and vegetables, and we did it with V8 V Fusion. You get a full serving of fruit and a full serving of vegetables in every glass. It's a tremendous source of vitamins A, C, and E, and it has a very appealing sweet flavor and light texture where you're getting the vegetables and you don't know you're drinking vegetables. You have no idea. And there's no added sugar. It's got great health credentials. You probably are aware of our I Could Have Had a V8 ads. We have a campaign we call the BOP campaign. I think I have one spot here that talks to V8 V Fusion.
Still working on that?
No, I'm done. I was wondering, if we just...
Could have had a V8, 100% vegetable juice.
Hey, our salads. You can do that all you want. I don't like V8 juice.
Then how about this? V8 V Fusion vegetable and fruit juice. A full serving of vegetables, a full serving of fruit. But what you taste is the fruit. So even you could have had a V8.
Also, you have to be able to bring innovation to your traditional icon brands. Fred and I were talking earlier about Coppertone and the challenge to breathe new life into an old brand which has an established image. We used a multi-pronged approach. We upgraded our product quality significantly. We upgraded our packages with easy open ends. We increased our marketing spending, changed our targeting and positioning to kids and to adults, and we implemented a new shelving system, which is an innovation all in of itself, which I'll share with you. As a result, after 25 years of decline, we've now grown the business for 3 straight years, and the outlook is very bright going forward. Let me run a couple pieces of copy.
It's harvest time. Here's fresh news, more Campbell's soups for you to choose.
3 new Campbell's soups with no artificial flavors and good things like whole grain pasta. Try new Italian-style wedding, chicken mushroom barley, and lentil.
We went to Mother Nature's door and made the soups you're looking for. Yeah. Said Campbell's, good possibilities.
Make a real meal in minutes. Your whole family loves to eat. With a cheesy hot casserole, wholesome food is such a treat. Campbell's cheesy chicken and rice casserole, possibilities.
When you dive into a bowl of SpaghettiOs pasta, your mouth will get down.
All right, homies, you know it's time. If you want some O's, then get in line. For those wiggly O's, your mouth will be craving. Eating a bowl is so amazing. SpaghettiOs. Your sauce and the meatballs are all tricked out, and that's stuff we're talking about. There is no other. If be eating them now. Thank your mother. Go meatball, go meatball, go!
Whoa.
Campbell's SpaghettiOs. Good. When you slurp up this chicken noodle soup, your mouth will go crazy.
It's the soup that tons of fans in that red and white can. No slurping you'll understand. You've got chicken noodle mania, makes you go insane. Campbell's chicken noodle mania. What you getting on the cranium? So good when you slurp it down. It's the hottest gig in town. Campbell's chicken noodle mania.
Cool.
Campbell's soups with less sodium.
Good. All the products we're marketing to children meet strict requirements from the FDA and actually the American Heart Association. The products we're promoting there are all low sodium and better for you products in old established forms. And we need to cultivate a new group of consumers, and that's what we're doing there. We also renovated in a renovation sense, Goldfish, actually the strongest brand in the snack cracker category. We used a multi-pronged approach, upgraded our products, new package formats, increased marketing, refined the positioning, took trans fat acids out. We're migrating to an all-natural format, and have made this the quintessential good-for-you snack for young children. And we've had 3 straight years of record growth. I'll just show you a couple of spots.
Okay, let's see what you got.
Goldfish, the fun little crackers always baked and made with real cheese.
Towards the beach.
Go!
Go! Go! Go!
It's a photo finish!
Gilbert!
The snack that smiles back. Goldfish.
You know, maybe it's time I slept without the nightlight on.
Wow.
Yeah, Gilbert!
That'd be great.
How bad could it be? Goldfish, the fun little crackers always baked and made with real cheese. You'll get it next time.
Yeah, like tomorrow night.
Tomorrow?
The snack that smiles back. Goldfish.
That whole storyline is about fish that live under the bed of a child. And if you knew my children, there were a lot of goldfish under our bed. Let's talk about renovation organic. We're also growing rapidly. That's a phenomenon growing rapidly across all categories. Our strategy is to introduce organic varieties of well-known products across our portfolio, and currently we're in all major categories except soup, and that's imminent. And we've built a nice little business there. That's not a breakthrough idea, but it's a good, smart renovation idea. And we're addressing consumer desire for organic foods. Then I can lean into something in our chunky soup line. We have our traditional chunky soup is primarily used at lunch occasion. We've created a dinner occasion product called Chunky Fully Loaded. It's targeted at dinner. It's heartier. It's got 1/3 more meat and vegetables. And it's a distinctive black can. It leverages our chunky football equity. It's targeted at males. And it was launched this summer with an encouraging customer response. I think I have a spot on this now.
LT and the boys are playing again tonight. There are no refs, just timekeepers. It's time for Campbell's Chunky. Hearty soups packed with beef, chicken, or sausage to feed an NFL-size hunger.
Hey, nice hit for a quarterback.
Campbell's Chunky, meals that fill you up right. At the corner of Hallis and Landry, there was a titanic clash of muck and man. The Mud Bowl. By game's end, the two teams shared a common uniform and one huge hunger. Introducing Campbell's Chunky Fully Loaded, the new Chunky in the black can. Fully loaded soups like rigatoni and meatballs with extreme amounts of meat to feed an NFL-size hunger. And yes, Mom, they washed their hands before they ate. New Campbell's Chunky Fully Loaded in the black can.
We have lots of other examples. Emerging markets in soups is a whole nother presentation. Refrigerated chilled soups that you can buy in other parts of the store. Aseptic soups and broth. Whole grain breads with Pepperidge Farm has just been a real success story. Godiva self-treat chocolates and much, much more. But let me move into the service area. we've created a gravity feed shelving system. The per challenge in shopping in the store is finding the brand you wanted. If you went to the soup aisle is the fastest turning, highest dollar per linear foot item in the center of the grocery store, and people are in a hurry to get through there, and they couldn't find the brands they wanted. And so we had to create a shelving system that helped do that. And I've got a quick video on that I'd like to share with you.
Goodness. Wow. I love it. This is totally different.
Describe it to me.
Oh, this is, wow.
They're all broken up into different categories. Cream, beef and vegetable, chicken. That's cool. What's cool about it?
What you can see here is they can
Once again,
clearly
it makes it a
read
lot
the
easier to find
labels
what
and
you're
the
looking
varieties
for.
now, which was a
It
significant
looks easier
challenge
to find
before.
things. That's what I like.
All the labels are enlarged, facing the customer this way, so you would have no trouble, because generally there isn't a rhyme or reason, it appears.
This is like a major eye catcher, like you just see Campbell. It actually makes me want to go buy more soup.
And
They won't
people
all
can
knock
actually
down
find the
or you're
varieties
worried
they're
about
looking for.
your jacket
It's
getting
actually
wet and
easier to
nothing
stock for the customer because the help can find where it goes more quickly than reading the tags. And it's been a win across the board. I'm going to go on. We also have system innovation is mission critical. Of the 19 largest food companies in the world, 18 of them had an enterprise resource planning system. One didn't, and that was ours. And so we had 1,500 different systems, countless interfaces, just a rat's nest of management challenges as a result of this. And we invested $125 million to establish a enterprise-wide planning system. This is as important in innovation as anything we've done on products, and the return on this investment will be significant. However, we did have to choose to do it. We did have to make that investment. It would have been easier if I wanted to just be a CEO for 3 more years to not make this investment and get out, but it was the right thing to do for the business. And
when we first learned that we were transitioning to SAP, I guess my personal feelings was I was really curious. Mostly just wanted to see where it took my job and where it took my department.
When folks were really getting ready and geared up for SAP, there was a combination of emotions. Largely it was excitement, and there was a lot of thought around the capability of the system and what it could do for us and how it could take us to a different place. With that came anxiety.
SAP is a great tool that has a lot of data that can assist our customer service coordinators in communicating information to our customers.
I need SAP to just function in my everyday job. It has great benefits to it.
And I'm
SAP encourages you to learn and develop.
The last piece is, besides systems, whether it's a shelving system or an enterprise-wide planning system, there are also processes. And we've had to overhaul our employee engagement process. We drive this engagement through a very disciplined philosophy, and where we manage it and measure it and action plan around it. It's part of the fabric of our culture, just like any other process. And it's driving superior engagement scores. We also had to overhaul our recruiting process, and we clearly recognized we needed extraordinary talent if we were going to build the world's most extraordinary food company. And as I said, we've had to attract a lot of talent to Camden, New Jersey and Southern New Jersey. It's another mission-critical element to our success story. And what I'll end with, and then I think I can take a few questions, is something we call our employee value proposition video, which is about a minute worth of story about what it's all about being part of Campbell's.
What I think is most extraordinary about Campbell's today is our vision. The fact that we're so committed to providing healthy foods to our consumer, and that we're living that vision day in, day out.
It's very exciting to wake up in the morning and know that you're going to have to go into the office and match the level of passion and excitement that everybody else has for the business.
I take pride because a lot of people trust Campbell's Soup. Families trust that name.
So 26 years later, here I am traveling to China. I'm responsible for the packaging. I have an incredible team that just is full of passion and drive. I can't imagine working anywhere else.
The thing that drew me to Campbell's was how far that Campbell's has come in the last couple of years in our ability to be a front runner rather than a follower.
I've been with the company 7 years. I absolutely feel that I have an opportunity to make a difference in our business every day.
I've kind of heard the catchphrase lately that we're the small big company, which means that your voice is being heard because for as large of a company as we are, it's small teams working on things.
What I find amazing about Campbell is that it is a company with a really large brand, but a really small feel inside.
As a food company, we have to be the experts. Since we started to build a business in Nordic, we have from day one had a very strong focus on the food we create and sell to our customers. My team's #1 task being to be the world's most extraordinary food company. And I truly think we're getting there.
We have not only a great business, but we have these fantastic brands. So it's not just about a career, it's about being a steward of fantastic brands that have such a great heritage.
It's a great deal of satisfaction when you see something out on the grocery shelf or you see a commercial on TV that you know that you contributed to.
I think that the energy in the building, the level of employee engagement is at an all-time high. This is a very exciting time to be here at Campbell Soup.
And I believe it to be true that we already are the world's most extraordinary food company. And that's because we succeed by making food that everybody loves with people who are extraordinarily passionate about their jobs.
I think on that note, I'll close the presentation and I can take a few questions.
Okay, Doug, I'll let you call on the folks. Raise your hands and wait for the mic.
Thanks. Thanks. Doug, could you please talk about your situation in Camden with your new headquarters? I know there was a story a few days ago that you weren't able to, that Campbell's wasn't able to acquire the property that you wanted to acquire to make that move possible. Could you please?
Yeah, it's extraordinarily challenging. Camden is a community we're passionately dedicated to, and but the gymnastics required to kind of find the win-win between Camden and ourselves are proving to be elusive. We are working through it and we'll find our way through it. It's just going to take more time. We have some special interest groups that are trying to take advantage of our commitment, and we're just going to navigate it thoughtfully and carefully. And we'll prevail. It's just taking longer than we thought.
You're on track to staying here.
That's our intention. Back there.
Can you comment a little bit more on how you measure employee engagement? It seems from here, without knowing a lot about it, that once your employees know that that's being measured and that's a key measure, that if they're responding to a survey, that they would respond in a way that obviously is what the company would like to hear and not necessarily what is really there. So how do you get through that?
Well, I think you have to, there's a lot of experience with this from the Gallup organization, who's the preeminent survey partner in the world. I've been doing this now for about 15 years. I have found that when employees have an opportunity to anonymously assess the performance of their managers, they're more than happy to share their observations. And what I get is I get the data on 525 managers in our group from anonymously from the people that they manage who are basically voting on how engaged their group is. And because it's anonymous and because it's manager and group specific, you can get some very meaty information. And we only compile the data for work groups of 5 or more people, so you can't just find, there's no way management can know who's voting and what the scores are. And the employees know I take it very seriously. I mean, it's job one. It's total shareholder returns, employee engagement. That's our job. And they're very articulate. And so we have absolutely no problem getting great candor. When I started, of our 525 managers, we had 284 who were in the bottom quartile of this database. In other words, very poor managers. We're now down to 38. And we have systematically worked this. But the measurement isn't the key. The action planning after the measurement is the key. We get the measures, and then the groups have to work with facilitators who come in too. And then they have to develop action plans with their management for the next year of how they're going to make it better, how are they going to address the issues that were surfaced. And then one of the questions we ask in the survey is, did your manager actually facilitate the implementation of the action plans from last year? So we create this continuous loop where associates vote every year, and they feel very empowered by that. They also feel that they own it, not just their manager, because it's their level of engagement. And we found it to be the most powerful tool for culture change. I found it to be the most powerful tool for culture change. You have to be relentless with it, though, and you have to do it over time. Typically, most companies will say, well, we'll do it every other year, or we'll do it for a couple years, and it'll get better, and then you don't do it. We're relentless with it. We report on it. My board holds me accountable for it. It's a big part of what we do. Yes, right there.
Hi, I'm Barb Marquardt from the Chubb Insurance Company, and we're developing this process and innovation. I was wondering, innovation leaders say that the quantity of your ideas is just as important to find those few quality ideas. So do you have like a formal process?
Yeah,
for
we have a
collecting
stage
quality?
gate process. We have a funnel. You collect ideas. We have a process for collecting ideas in strategic territories. And we go through a stage gate process where we qualify the ideas in a low-cost, high-speed way. And then we get to a point where we start to develop the ideas more completely in a narrow band in our strategic territories of interest. You do have, it is quantity and quality. You've got to have both. I'm a big believer in erring on the quality side as opposed to the quantity side. And so we pretty quickly funnel down to a few paths. We just don't have the resources that Fred has to do all this crazy stuff, you know. We're not some high-margin pharmaceutical company, you know. Yes, over here.
Hi, I'm Kathy Bender. I'm curious because you talked so much you did to increase innovation and change the marketplace for Campbell Soup. And it took a long period of time, over a number of years. And one of the things you said that you did to increase innovation and change the entire culture of Campbell Soup was you replaced half of your executive team. Falling short of replacing half of, okay, 4/5 of your executive team, can you give us some ideas of how to jumpstart the innovation process with your employees? This was a culture that was pretty deep-rooted in some old-fashioned ways. How do you jumpstart that?
Well, I think you make it a priority, and then you're relentless on it as a leader. When I first got there, innovation was one of the key platforms. And when you go into a new situation, you say, these are the 3 things that are important. Then you have to behave in a way that says they're important. When I first went into Campbell, I said, and with the existing team for the better part of the first 3 years, we said, okay, let's figure out where we want to be at the end of this year. And then what does that mean for your quarterly priorities? What do you have to do in this quarter to deliver the year? And then we would have weekly postings where they would have to send me and each other the postings. What did I do this week to deliver this quarter, to deliver this year? And then they'd send those out on Friday. We would meet as a group on Monday, and we would talk about, and everybody would have an opportunity to say, well, I didn't understand this posting or that posting, so there was no excuse for you not knowing what was going on at the top executive level, the top 15 people of the company. And one of the cuts we had in the postings was innovation. So every week they had to come back and talk about how they'd made progress. Now that was incredibly painful, but it did get the organization's attention, and ultimately we weaned them back from that, and we went to every other week. Then we went to once a month, and then we went to once a quarter, and now we go about once every 6 weeks. So you adjust it as you go, but you have to have behaviors that reinforce the intensity of your intentions. So you got to find a way to.
Innovation now is one of your performance measures.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have compensation plans that have an aspect of that?
Yes. Every individual has a compensation plan, or manager has a compensation plan, and part of that is related to the individual. To their individual objectives, and there is a piece of innovation in those. But quite frankly, that's not as important as the culture itself. That just is like an exclamation point.
Yeah, but the
that says
culture
it's
takes
important.
years to
Well, Jim
shift.
Collins, if you talk to Jim Collins, he'll tell you that to go from good to great, which is largely about innovation, it will take you 7 years.
Yep.
And, and he's this anal retentive research guy, and he's measured it, and it says it'll take you 7 years. Well, in our case, he came and spoke to our company, and one of our executives said, well, if it takes 7 years to go from good to great, how long does it take to go from bad to great? Which is where we were at the time. And he said, I've got news for you, it's a decade. And it probably will. For us to hit stride will take 10 years. So it's not for the faint of heart, and you have to have enormous resolve. In fact, when Jim writes about I think the best leadership model that I know of that's current is his level 5 leadership model, and he talks about the 2 things that differentiate a level 5 leader, and it does apply directly to innovation. The 2 differentiating characteristics are humility and fierce resolve. Humility, I always know I can learn more and I'm open to new ideas. And fierce resolve, I'm going to see this through come hell or high water. And so it does take time, and you've got to be patient with it. But you also have to perform, and you have to find a way to to put those 2 things together in a way that delivers near term, but also complements your long-term desires. Yes, sir, back there.
On innovation for Campbell, how are they going to handle rising commodity prices and impact of the decreasing dollar on an international basis?
That's a good question. Do you have any ideas? We have commodity prices for a variety of reasons, which many of you have read about, are the highest, the rate is growing the highest I've seen in 30 years. So you will see higher prices at the store shelves. Primarily, it'll start with the grains, but then the grains will get into the feed for dairy and protein, and you will see food inflation of some significance, 5 to 7% in the coming year probably. So that is a challenging situation. Companies deal with it 2 ways. Basically, you want to have your pricing and your productivity offset your cost inflation. And that's sort of the balance you take. You've got to find ways to take cost out, and you have to add enough value to justify a premium price. So to us, it's about leveraging innovation to do value addition to our products to justify premium prices. But it's the most challenging time on that front in the food industry right now. Be interesting to see who can weather the storm. I like our chances because we've got some really nice, strong, well-developed positions with a nice stream of innovation coming along, which is going to allow us to get what we call total preferred value and premium pricing.
Question? Okay, in the back.
Yes, I'm Gina Wertenberg from the Institute here at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Great presentation. My question is, in light of the incredible obesity epidemic in the U.S. and around the world, but with 1 in 5 children being obese in the U.S., I'm wondering if you're doing anything proactively through either public education or through product innovation to help ameliorate this situation.
Well, I'm telling you, if they'd eat more soup, we'd have no problem. Actually, our portfolio, an independent study was done, and our portfolio was viewed as being the 2nd best of all the major food companies in the world behind Danone, who's basically selling dairy and water. And it's a huge issue. What we've discovered as we've gotten into it, it's about calories in and calories out, and there's as much about physical exercise as there is with calorie intake. And we're also finding there's a huge issue in terms of away from home consumption, where there's no indication of what the caloric intake is, versus at home consumption, where you can look there's sort of no excuse, you can look on the package. And so it's a very complex subject, but there's the Grocery Manufacturers Association is actively involved in trying to find the win-win here. So, and I think more regulation may be appropriate, but quite frankly, my personal opinion as a parent is I have to own this. If the government's going to own how healthy my children are, we're in trouble. And so I personally believe it's a parent's responsibility to manage this in a very personal and proactive way if they're concerned about the well-being of their children. because there's no evidence around the world that there's any other way to deal with it effectively. There's a lot more we could talk about, but no time. All right, thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to...